Hey guys, it's Tim coming at you with a review of Teen Titans The Judas Contract, the movie 9 years in the making. So with all that behind it, how does the movie fare? Well, overall I ended up liking the movie, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have problems to it, and probably the biggest one is a lack of focus. Though to a degree I can understand why this ended up being a case, especially since one of the criticisms I saw towards Justice League vs. Teen Titans was that it focused too heavily on Raven and Damian in lieu of anyone else. This movie basically has the inverse problem. Pretty much everyone gets a subplot, except Raven, who's basically just kind of there this time around. And with Damian, he's basically taken out of the movie pretty early, and while they check back with him periodically, he really doesn't have that great an impact on the story either. But I'll briefly go over the subplots that we do have. The first of which is between Nightwing and Starfire, with them moving in together, and also people deferring to Nightwing as the leader now, since he's come back, even though Corey is technically the leader at this point. Jaime has to deal with the fact that because of the scarab on his back, he really can't be near or around his family until he gets more control of it, and this eventually leads him to working at a homeless shelter to get it more acclimated to being around people. Beast Boy's is obviously his budding relationship with Terra, and Terra's is obviously her betraying the team to Slade. That's what the story's about. And while all of them have interesting angles to them, they all suffer from the lack of focus. Corey and Dick's story and Jaime's story end up petering out by the time we get to the end, and Beast Boy's story, which is the real emotional core of the film, because it's being pushed in so many different directions, we don't get enough time focused on it to actually feel a genuine connection between him and Terra. At least, not one strong enough to carry the emotional weight it needed. And then we have Terra's story, which does feel like it has enough time on screen, but its lack of focus comes from the fact that they're trying to mix together the comic book version with the 2003 animated version, which honestly do not blend together. The comic version of her was pretty much just an evil, hateful person, and the animated series version of her wasn't evil at all and was just a victim of circumstance. Here they try to do both, where she still has the evil edge to her, but is still a victim of circumstance, and by the end still try to get you more on her side, but because it doesn't commit to one side or the other, it really lessens the impact of either. That being said, there still are good parts to these subplots. I really like the relationship between Dick and Corey in this. Jaime's story, actually, for fans of his solo series from before the New 52, has a reference to Tracy's 13 in it. And Beast Boy's subplot has some really strong line work to it, especially when he describes his views on heroes. But moving away from story for the moment, I'm going to give my brief thoughts on the technical elements of the story. The voice acting is, for the most part, pretty solid in this. Taissa Farmiga's role as Raven has improved, helped by the fact that she doesn't really have to do any dramatic moments in this one, but she still comes across as a less enthused Daria in her delivery. Brandon Sue-Hu and Christina Ricci also do a pretty good job with Beast Boy and Terra, though Brandon is much better with the more dramatic elements of Beast Boy, and when they try to do some of the things similar to his 2003 or even his Teen Titans Go version, he can't do it as well. Like, there's a few times throughout it where he refers to Terra as Mama, but it just sounds weird coming out of him. And Christina Ricci does a good job with most of her lines, but at the end where she's just sort of screaming in pain, it just sounds weird for some reason. To the point that it feels like they probably should have tried doing a different take. For his last role, Miguel Ferrer does a good job as Deathstroke here. He has a good sort of snide wit to him while still being menacing, and he does a much better job than the last time we saw Deathstroke in this universe. And the others play their parts as well as they need to. So the voice work is overall solid here with a few hang-ups here and there. In terms of animation, it is, for the most part, very good. But there is some awkward walking animation I have seen. Like, there's this dramatic scene early on where Terra loses control during a training session, and then she walks away in this weird, really fast manner afterwards that completely breaks the mood. But luckily, these moments are few and far between, and the animation is very solid outside of them. Before I get to the score, I will say that, similar to the last time we saw this team, we do get some teases and introductions of new members that'll be in future installments, so they're definitely planning on doing more of this in the future if this does well. Overall, I give Teen Titans Judas Contract a 7 out of 10. Like I said, its biggest problem is a lack of focus, and there are some technical hiccups, but nothing too egregious. I find that the parts that do work very well, especially, like I said before, Beast Boy and his views on heroism from his part of the story. And I hope to get more from this team in the future, because both of the movies that they've done with them so far, I've liked. So, hopefully we get more from this series. But those are my thoughts on Teen Titans Judas Contract, and if you'd like to see more reviews like this, feel free to hit that subscribe button and click the bell next to it so you can be immediately informed when new ones go up. But until next time, this has been Tim from the Hybrid Network, signing out.